Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the inaugural episode of Montrose Vibes. I'm your host, Matt Lindberg, and with me is co-host Monica Garcia.
Hey, Montrose.
We're coming to you direct from MDP Media Studios. Shout out to Montrose's own Rusty Wooters for that intro music you just heard. This podcast is dedicated to exploring the Montrose entertainment scene, music, movies, books, events.
We're all across the spectrum, and each week we'll have a special guest.
So with this first show, fittingly, we're kicking it off with someone many would refer to as the godfather of the Montrose music scene, not to age you, the founder of the Montrose Summer Music Series, Mr. Dave Bowman. How are you, Dave?
I'm fantastic. How are you guys doing today?
We are good. We appreciate you coming in.
So the lineup for this Summer Music Series was recently unveiled. Can you tell us a bit about the bands and why they were selected?
I think the music series looks to book as many different kinds of bands as possible. We typically try to have a country band, a rock band, a blues band, and a horn band. And I think we've accomplished that with the first band. Blue Water Highway is more of a traditional Texas country band. The Drugstore Gypsies are a hard rock and Texas band. Selwyn Birchwood from Tampa, Florida, fantastic blues guy, has won a lot of awards and played a lot of big blues shows around the country and around Europe. And the last band, 12 Cents for Marvin, is a ska band, has a three-piece horn section, and the bass player was born and raised in Montrose and graduated from Montrose High School a few years ago. So we've sort of spread it out, and geographically we spread it out. I think everybody's going to love the entire series this year. Did you happen to know the bass player prior to booking her for the
Yes,
show? I know her mother actually was at the unveiling on Tuesday, and I've known her mom, Margaret Freeman, for many years. She's a retired teacher, great family.
Okay. A unique aspect of the series is that you've always made a point of having a performance of the national anthem kind of to kick things off for each show. You and I have discussed that before, but can you kind of explain why that's so important to you to do that every time you have a concert?
Well, I think that number one, it unifies the audience from the get-go. Everybody stands up together, everybody takes their hats off together, they face that flag, and behind them is the singer, and we have dynamic performers. One year we even did have, when the Johnson County Coroners were together, we had a guitar solo for the national anthem, much like Jimi Hendrix started many years ago. And you go to any sporting event and you have the national anthem. Why not the national anthem at a public concert on government-owned ground? It's just a great way to start the night.
Do you think that's needed now more so than it has been in years?
I guess regardless, I don't do it because it's needed. I do it because I think it's a great idea to honor our country. Whether it's a sporting event, a musical event, when you have that many people together on a beautiful summer night, what's more Americana than the national anthem?
Very true.
I was going to say, you can't think of anything.
Now, a lot of people know about the series, your involvement with, putting together a bunch of these great shows that we're able to attend. But I'm not so sure people know about where your passion for music came from. So if you could you just kind of dive into where that love for music first came about?
It really probably started on Sunday afternoons back in Cleveland, Ohio. There were 4 boys in our family. And, gas was a quarter. Mom and Dad would put everybody in the back of the station wagon and drive around rural Ohio and play WGAR, which was strictly big band, Frank Sinatra kind of music. And that was really the first music I heard. And from there, I lived, we would spend summers in Canada, and it was on an island that was out of radio shot, no TV, and we had some young people that worked there, and they would bring their little record player. And I mean, the first song I really remember hearing that was rock and roll was Buddy Holly, That'll Be the Day That I Die. And I still love Texas music. And the other group that they played were the Everly Brothers. So I really grew up on rich harmonies, and I believe that music is about harmony and bringing harmony to one's life.
You still love old Frank, right?
Oh, I'm telling you, absolutely. I got Frank CDs in my collection, and I didn't appreciate him quite so much then as probably I do now. And one of the things I decided very early on was, okay, my parents just listened to this music that wasn't current. I mean, at the time we're talking about, this is the Elvis coming up, and they still love their older music, the stuff they grew up on. But I said I would never just be involved with the music I grew up on. I love classic rock, but I listen to today's music, maybe not necessarily what's on Top 40 radio, but there's lots of great current artists. Jason Isbell, just to say one. Fantastic artist, young artist. So my musical spectrum is all over the place.
Can you highlight some of those other artists or music that you like to listen to?
I guess it sort of went, we would get out of the car after listening to WGAR and the big bands, and we'd grab our plastic transistor radios and turn to WHK, which was an AM pop station in Cleveland. Later, we lived right on the edge of Lake Erie, and there was a great station out of Windsor, Detroit, called CKLW, and that's when I first heard of Bob Seger, and that was mid to late 60s. I thought it was funny years later when Bob Seger got an award for new artist at the Grammys, and he'd already been around for 6 or 7 years and had 2 or 3 albums out. It was, to me, hysterical. You know, there was always that argument, Beatles or the Stones. My argument was the Stones or the Who. And it went from there. And FM radio hit Cleveland. WMMS was one of the top stations in the nation at that point, and they played everything. There wasn't genres, there was just music. In the same 20-minute segment, you would hear Motown, you'd hear Hendrix, you might hear classical, you're going to hear Poco, which was an early quote-unquote country rock band. Everything was put together, and I think the more that we've gone into genres, we've homogenized our music, so that the influence really isn't there. If you go back to early Beatles, early Stones, half their albums were Motown covers. Mm-hmm. That's where those guys grew up on, and then they expanded. You know, the Stones, when they met Graham Parsons, all of a sudden they're playing country music. Music was much more diverse, and I think people's musical tastes were much more eclectic and open to new things than maybe they are now because of the genres that we've pigeonholed music into.
You don't think there's a bit of genre bending going on? It just seems like there's a lot of like artists from different genres collaborating, and artists don't necessarily label themselves as a certain kind.
You know, I guess there's some, but back, you know, when the Stones came out with a country tune, mm-hmm. nobody thought anything about it. Mm-hmm. You know, Wild Horses, great song. It wasn't, oh, Stones have gone country. Think they ought to do a country album?
That's a good point.
It was just rock and roll, and to me, it's still just rock and roll.
Now, you mentioned your CD collection. I know at one time you had a CD store.
Yes.
Then you famously have said the iPod came around.
Yes.
So you got out of that.
I still own 6,000 CDs.
Where do you even have the room for that?
In my office. The walls, all the way around the walls, and in boxes and here and there. And my vinyl collection, unfortunately, got pretty much deleted because we didn't have space for that.
So that's what I was going to ask you. We have different options for getting music now. You can stream, you download, you can obviously buy the physical albums. It sounds like the way you consume music, though, is CDs.
I still get CDs. I got one coming in the mail right now. Joan Baez, a lady that I saw 40 years ago. Some of you older folks might remember her from singing Swing Low, Sweet Chariot at Woodstock. She's got a brand new album out. One of the great songs on it is called The President Sang Amazing Grace, which is a tribute to school shootings, or maybe not a tribute, but a memorialization. And you know, there was a passion in music that I really don't see today. Music was social media. You waited for that new Beatles album, and you stood in line to go buy it. Mm-hmm. You know, and that went on with many different artists. That's how people communicated. When Neil Young said "4 Dead in Ohio," we knew what was going on. I don't see that passion necessarily in today's music.
Well, when you're talking about going to the store, picking up the albums, but just looking through the album art, that was like an experience, even for someone like me with a CD or a cassette. I mean, that was like you spent time doing that, going through the lyrics. Now you can download everything, stream it, and
you don't necessarily get the background. Who's playing with who. When and my problem right now is when I buy a CD, I still can't read the liner notes. But albums were much better for that.
Well, I don't know how you feel about it. I find it disappointing that they charge you more to get a physical album than they do the download. And now they're offering like bonus tracks with digital versions. It takes away from the experience, in my opinion.
And there are those that will argue that your MP3 sound isn't as full and rich as certainly analog vinyl, even upgraded CDs. There's just more music there.
So you have the CD shop. Why get into concert promoting?
Because of the iTunes.
Apple, look what you've done.
Yeah. One of the ways it really started for me was there was an artist named Dave Stamey, and many people, particularly in Western Colorado, are familiar with Dave. He recorded a song called The Bones of Benny Gray, which is about a gentleman that lived in the Olathe area and ranched all over Western Colorado. That song became very big here. People wanted the CD, so the only place we could get the CD was from Dave personally. He was not on the internet. We wrote him a letter, paper, pencil, mailed it to him. He mailed us a box of CDs and said, hey, if you sell any of these, send me a check. And I've had Dave in town 6 or 8 times. We have never, ever signed a contract. But anyways, he was one of the first performers we brought into the pavilion, and things just snowballed from there. We did a series of concerts at the pavilion that were sort of a jazz flavor, thanks to Steve Woody. And I learned how to do it and thought, hey, this is a lot of fun. Never really made a lot of money at it, but it sure was fun and brought a lot of music to this town. But I guess I want to mention, people don't remember, for the most part, there were a crew of guys out of Olathe called the Black Canyon Gang. And they were putting on festivals in the hills long before I got here in about '82. The last show that they did, and I was able to see it, was Cheap Trick on a makeshift stage in a field in Olathe.
Wow.
Not many people, and that was about '83. So really, I stand on the shoulders of giants. It's not that I'm the godfather. I'm really not. Black Canyon Gang guys and the Anders brothers and people like that, those are really the giants of live music in the Montrose, Olathe area.
Didn't mean to insult you by calling you the godfather.
Well, credit is due to those guys. They had been doing it long before I got here. And
so that was sort of the precursor for the summer music series?
That, in a way, really the modern precursor was Main in Motion.
Okay.
I was on the original Main in Motion board. We started that on the sidewalk. There was no street closure. We had solos, duos, trios plugged into lampposts up and down Main Street. And from there it progressed to the concerts we did at the Elks. For 3 years we did Montrose Musicians Day, day-long concerts of just local artists. But I still wanted to do something bigger, and when I saw that Main in Motion was going away, and at that point knew how to do a bigger concert, we moved across the street from the Elks to Black Canyon Golf Course and started bringing in national artists.
Very cool. Now another big endeavor underway is the Rotary Park Amphitheater at Cerise Park, which I know you're involved with that. And there's the June concert. These have been chronicled in the Montrose Daily Press, but can you just talk about the progress that's being made on the concert or that event in June, as well as the amphitheater project as a whole?
Yeah. We decided we being the Montrose Summer Music Series, the Rotary Club, assistance from the city, wanted to do something to get people down to Cerise Park. And part of it is the architect and the engineer from the stage said, hey Dave, if you could do something in June before the final drawings are due in July, just to test what sound's going to sound like in Cerise Park. Does the hogback have any effect? How far will the music flow? Cerise Park is a very, very large area if you think about it. We could probably put 20,000 plus people in there if we ever got to the point of bringing in a band. So it was decided to add a barbecue event. There'll be an amateur barbecue event. It will be all local bands. We'll have plenty of food trucks to supply food to the masses, beverages. Should be just a fun event. I'm sort of spearheading it right now, but it really is a Rotary Club event. Mm-hmm. And Rotary Club really deserves the credit for making sure that we were able to do this. I'm the guy that knows how to do this, so I've sort of taken the lead, but it's really a Rotary Club event.
It seems like you really love and are a believer in that community collaboration that we're seeing in a lot of different projects. The Colorado Outdoors Project, the amphitheater, the music series, there's the board, but I know, there's collaboration with the city allowing you.
The more we work together, the better things are. And I think that most of the people in this community understand when we stand together and we work together, we do great things for this community all over the place. The county has taken a huge risk with the event center, but they understand that that will be a tremendous economic driver for this community, and it brings people together. And when we live in harmony together, things are just better. People are happy. What's wrong with a happy town?
I would agree. It's one of the special things about Montrose.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
So we're going to get through June, and then Monica, there's the other event coming up.
So Funk Fest, how's that one coming along?
Funk Fest is coming along just fantastic. This is its 4th year, and I'm real pleased that we have live music at it. The first year we had, that the city ran it, they had local bands, and that was good. Then the next year they went to a DJ. I was asked to get involved, and I said the only way I would get involved is if we were going to have live music. The city let me go hire Chris Daniels and the Kings out of the Denver Boulder area.
That was a good show.
There was a great show, great band, lots of history with that band in Colorado. And this year, we'd actually booked GrooveMet for the Montrose Summer Music Series, and then because there was some confusion whether or not we'd have live music at Funk Fest, and when the decision was we would have live music, I thought, I got a funk band. Let's hand the funk band off to Funk Fest, and I'll get another band for Montrose Summer Music Series. So should be a couple local bands, GrooveMet out of Fayetteville, Arkansas. There are the details of all that are still being put together, but it's July 14th. Be a daylight show. It's going to be a bunch of fun down in River Bottom Park.
Very cool.
And eventually I would assume that when we get the stage built in Cerise Park, the whole flavor of Funk Fest will change to a certain degree, because some of it will surely remain in River Bottom Park, but I'm sure some of it will spill over to Cerise Park because that's where the stage is. So it's sort of exciting to see how Funk Fest will continue to evolve. It's evolved a lot in the last 4 years, and it will continue to do that, sort of winding just like the river does.
And you were saying the stage tentatively probably not before, was it 2019 or 2020?
I'm going to guess at this point closer to 2020.
Okay.
That's still up in the air based on fundraising.
Now, you were talking about the good old rock and roll and some of your favorite music, but I know you have grandkids that are pretty young, and I have young children. So I have to believe that you are victim of having to hear music that you probably wouldn't listen to on your own.
They're really not old enough yet to get into that, but I will say that my grandson Devin has performed about a half a dozen times at open mic. He's a kindergartner at Pomona, and for the Pomona Christmas program, he learned my favorite things from Sound of Music, and he's got it memorized, just amazing. And so he is performed that at Horsefly, and he also performed it at the Pavilion for Montrose Got Talent. He was the youngest performer in the Montrose Got Talent contest, and does it a cappella and just nails it. So right now he's sort of decided, Grandpa, I need a new song. So we're trying to figure out what the new song will be.
Now wait a minute here. This isn't fair. I'm driving around. My daughter wants to listen to Taylor Swift, and you're getting to go and teach your grandchildren some of these cool songs. I got to get into that game.
Actually, their favorite CD is the soundtrack from Trolls.
That melted in my car stereo. Okay, so there is something.
Yeah, and actually I think that's a pretty cool CD. I guess I'd like to mention that at least half of it is classic rock done by other bands. So everything from Simon and Garfunkel to Lionel Richie, Cyndi Lauper. Great classic rock tunes done by new artists, and I think it's great that the younger generation is being exposed to classic rock without realizing it.
September, that's a good cut on there. All right, but you have to have a guilty pleasure, something that you listen to that maybe people wouldn't expect.
One Direction, maybe?
I have a real love for folk music. That's not necessarily so popular these days. Kathy and I are going to go over to Denver in October to see Joan Baez again. I first saw her 40 years ago. She's on her farewell tour. I'm really looking forward to seeing Joan Baez again. She's 77. She was just on CBS Sunday Morning last Sunday. She's singing in a little bit of a lower register these days, but she still has that spirit and twinkle in her eye, and just a great, great lady. And so looking forward to that.
Very cool. Okay, so something that we're doing here on the podcast, Dave, you're trapped on a desert island, of course, hypothetical. You have 3 albums you can listen to, and that's it. What 3 albums would you pick?
Certainly Born to Run would be at the top of the list.
It's a great one.
A great new album by Stevie Van Zandt, who is the guitar player for E Street Band when they go out. He's put a new album together. Several of the songs are things that he wrote for Southside Johnny, another New Jersey band. So I would say that. And a third album, probably something by Jason Eady. Jason Eady's a Texas singer-songwriter. We've had him in town several times. I sure love that Texas music, and Texas country music, to me, is real country music.
Very cool.
And before we let you go, can you remind everyone of the series concert dates?
I just have it in my pocket because it's the first year we did this, we had dates all over the map. And it was very difficult to promote it because there wasn't a lot of consistency. So the second year we went to First Friday, June, July, August, September, and those dates are June 1st, July 6th, August 3rd, and September 7th. Our shows start at 6 o'clock. They're done about 9:30, so it is, bring the family. You can still get the kids to bed. Hey, it's Saturday the next day, so they can stay up a little bit. So.
And these are free concerts, we should remind people.
These are free concerts. Funk Fest is free. June 9th will be free. Excuse me, and all the Montrose Summer Music Series shows are free.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to those. Dave, we appreciate you coming on. Tune in next week, folks. We'll have another special guest and hopefully even better show.
Catch you then.
But Dave won't be here, so we'll see.
It'll be
good.
Thank you guys very much. I sure appreciate it.
We appreciate you coming on.
We appreciate it.